So Blake Lively is apparently not going to Taylor Swift's wedding, and the whole story about a reconciliation phone call between them has completely fallen apart. That's not just speculation. Multiple major outlets ran reports at the same time saying the same thing. There was no phone call, no invitation, and no olive branch. What's wild is how quickly the Daily Mail's exclusive unraveled once other outlets started checking. Here's what the Daily Mail originally reported. They published a detailed story claiming Taylor Swift had a phone call with Blake Lively. According to their sources, Taylor wasn't happy about being dragged into the legal drama, but as the lawsuit came to a close, she had become more receptive to speaking with Blake. One insider claimed Blake was ready to resume their friendship because the legal dispute had caused the relationship to fracture. They said both women had been making efforts to rebuild what was once a rock-solid friendship. Another source suggested Blake was on the verge of getting a second chance, that they'd had casual conversations to test the waters, and that Blake was slowly finding her way back into Taylor's inner circle as Taylor had begun to soften. The report also claimed Blake didn't want to be seen as someone who wasn't invited to the wedding because her public image is very important to her. It even included the detail that Blake had already chosen a wedding dress and was prepared for the celebration. If you simply read that story and moved on, you might think they were working things out. It's the kind of reconciliation narrative that gets attention: two powerful women, a friendship damaged by controversy, followed by a heartfelt conversation that repairs everything. But then things changed very quickly. Extra reported that the story was false, stating that Taylor Swift and Blake Lively did not have a reconciliation phone call before the wedding. According to its sources, reports claiming Taylor had called Blake to clear the air were inaccurate. The Sun also reported there had been no reconciliation phone call. Entertainment Tonight followed with the same conclusion, saying there had been no conversation between Taylor and Blake despite the Daily Mail report. When several major outlets all published the same correction at nearly the same time, it's understandable why some observers interpret that as Taylor Swift's representatives moving quickly to dispute the original report. However, without confirmation from Swift or her team, it's not possible to know exactly how those corrections came about. Taylor has generally avoided publicly commenting on personal friendship rumors. Rather than addressing them herself, reports about her personal life often circulate through entertainment outlets citing unnamed sources. Looking at the broader history between Taylor Swift and Blake Lively, they were undeniably close. Taylor hosted Blake and Ryan Reynolds at her Rhode Island home. Blake directed one of Taylor's music videos, and they frequently appeared together publicly. Taylor even referenced Blake and Ryan's children in her music, reflecting a friendship that appeared genuine and long-standing. They spent holidays together, vacationed together, and Blake and Ryan were regular guests at Taylor's famous 4th of July parties. By all public appearances, this was far more than a casual celebrity friendship. Things changed during the legal controversy surrounding It Ends With Us. Taylor's name became connected to media coverage of the dispute after references to private communications appeared in legal filings. Although Taylor was not a party to the lawsuit, her name began appearing in headlines connected to the case. Reports have suggested this strained the friendship, but neither Taylor nor Blake has publicly confirmed the status of their relationship. Throughout the controversy, Taylor remained publicly silent. She did not make public statements supporting Blake or commenting on the dispute. Some interpret that silence as meaningful, although it's impossible to know her private views. The Daily Mail story suggested Taylor gradually softened after the lawsuit concluded, but subsequent reports from several other entertainment outlets disputed that account. The article also claimed Taylor and Blake had never completely stopped being friends despite recent tensions. Whether that's true remains unknown because neither woman has publicly addressed the matter. Some commentators point to Taylor's past friendships, such as her well-known friendship with Karlie Kloss, noting that once those relationships faded from public view, they were rarely discussed again. However, the reasons behind those changes have never been fully confirmed publicly, and much of the speculation surrounding them remains just that, speculation. The Daily Mail report also included unusually specific claims, including that Blake had already selected a dress for the wedding and that people around Taylor expected she might attend. Because those details were later contradicted by other reports, their accuracy has been widely questioned. Ultimately, much of this story relies on unnamed sources from entertainment media. While multiple outlets have disputed the reconciliation narrative, the true status of Taylor Swift and Blake Lively's friendship remains known only to the people involved. Blake Lively's recent solo outings, carefully photographed by paparazzi, have fueled plenty of discussion about her public image. A story suggesting Taylor Swift had forgiven her and welcomed her back into her inner circle would be incredibly valuable from a public relations standpoint. It would signal that, whatever happened between them, one of the biggest stars in the world had moved on. That's the kind of endorsement that carries enormous social capital. Viewed through that lens, the Daily Mail story reads to some people like wishful thinking presented as reporting. But wishful thinking isn't the same as reality. What we do know is that Blake Lively was not publicly seen at Taylor Swift's Rhode Island property during a weekend when there were reports of fireworks, numerous private vehicles arriving and leaving, and widespread online speculation that pre-wedding celebrations were taking place. At roughly the same time, Travis Kelce was photographed celebrating with friends, adding to speculation that the couple was holding separate events ahead of their wedding. Meanwhile, Blake Lively was photographed running errands by herself in a pale pink tunic, a pastel-patterned jacket, jeans, and matching pink shoes. Some commentators contrasted those images with the speculation surrounding Taylor's reported celebrations. However, it's impossible to draw firm conclusions about someone's invitation status based solely on paparazzi photographs. It's also important to remember that the wedding has not yet taken place. Plans can change, guest lists are private, and until the ceremony actually happens, no one outside those involved can say with certainty who will or won't attend. Still, based on the publicly available reporting, the current picture appears consistent. Multiple entertainment outlets have disputed the claim that there was a reconciliation phone call. Reports indicate there has been no confirmed reconciliation, and Taylor has remained publicly silent throughout the situation. Many observers also point to Taylor's history of keeping personal relationships private. While some interpret her silence as meaningful, only Taylor herself knows what it signifies. The speed with which the reconciliation story was challenged has become almost as newsworthy as the original report. Some see the original article as reflecting one version of events from unnamed sources, while the later reports presented a very different account. Without direct confirmation from those involved, it's impossible to know which sources, if any, accurately represent the private relationship between Taylor Swift and Blake Lively. The discussion has also sparked debate among Taylor Swift fans. Some continue to defend Blake Lively, while others believe Blake's actions ultimately resulted in Taylor's name becoming connected to legal proceedings she was not directly involved in. Those differing reactions largely reflect personal interpretations of publicly reported events rather than established facts. Supporting women does not necessarily mean agreeing with every action taken by every woman in every circumstance. Likewise, believing in accountability does not require assuming the worst about anyone without complete information. Both ideas can exist at the same time. Taylor Swift has spent years dealing with intense public scrutiny herself. If she has chosen to keep her distance from this situation, that is ultimately her decision. However, because neither she nor Blake has publicly discussed the matter in detail, the reasons behind any distance remain private. Blake Lively's promotional campaign for It Ends With Us also received significant criticism. Some audiences felt aspects of the marketing failed to match the film's serious subject matter, while others defended her approach. Public opinion became even more divided after the dispute involving Justin Baldoni became public, with different people reaching very different conclusions based on the information available. Throughout that controversy, Taylor Swift's name continued appearing in media coverage because references to private communications became part of the broader reporting. Whether that affected their friendship has never been confirmed publicly. At this point, the available reporting presents two competing narratives. One suggests reconciliation, the other says there has been no reconciliation at all. Several major entertainment outlets have publicly disputed the reconciliation story. While the Daily Mail has stood by its reporting, the wedding itself may ultimately answer some of the speculation. If Blake Lively attends, it will immediately change the conversation. If she does not, many people will likely view that as consistent with the report suggesting the friendship remains strained. Until then, much of the discussion rests on unnamed sources, entertainment reporting, and public interpretation. The status of Taylor Swift and Blake Lively's friendship remains something only they truly know. For now, Taylor Swift appears focused on her personal life and upcoming wedding, while Blake Lively continues with her own projects and public appearances. Whether their friendship is permanently over or simply private is not something that has been confirmed. As with many celebrity stories, the most definitive claims often come from anonymous sources rather than the people directly involved. Until either Taylor Swift or Blake Lively chooses to speak publicly, any conclusion about the state of their relationship should be treated as speculation rather than established fact.